If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then this, the UK Property Market Stat Show, is for you. My name is Chris Watkin, and each week I'm joined by a special guest. This week is Kristian Stott. We'll come to Kristian in a second. What is the UK Property Market Stat Show? Well, it's a show that basically talks about what's happening in the UK property market. It's roughly split in two sections. The first half talks about what's happening in the property market this week, which is week 41. And just for anyone's benefit, that's Monday, the 7th of October, all the way through and including Sunday, the 13th of October, where we look at listings, we look at price reductions, we look at sales agreed, fall throughs and exchanges and house prices. So if you want to know what's happening in the property market, then this show is for you. You could say, well, there's the land registry, there's the Halifax, and there's a nationwide. Yeah, they're all great stuff. But the land registry is looking at sales that took place last December and January. The Halifax and nationwide are looking at sales that took place in April and May. We're looking at house prices and sales that took place last week. And by knowing what's happening in the property market, you can have an unfair advantage if you want to know what's happening in the property market. The second half of the show is that we focus on a town or a city and really deep dive and have a look at what's happening in that particular property market. This week, we are focusing on the beautiful location of Torbay, which is Torquay, Paignton and Brixham combined. Now, if you're not from the Torbay area, you might find that particularly uninteresting, but I'd certainly recommend, if you are an estate agent with the following problems, that you watch that. You see, we're going to be using some software which analyzes what's happening in the property market, who's selling, market share growth, listings to sales, exchanges to listings, price reductions, overvaluing the works for both sales and lettings. And if you are an agent that's suffering from estate agents' competitors who are overvaluing or not doing particularly well and then nicking stuff off you, I'll show you a bit of kit, which is the same kit we're going to be using, to prove that you are a better estate agent. Obviously, as long as you've got the stats that back it up. So do watch that part of the show, even if you're not from the Torbay area. This week, we're joined by Kristian Stott, who is previously an estate agent, used to run a massive firm in the West Midlands, and now is into AI and a wonderful tech and things like that. So he's quite a unique beast. They broke the mold when they built him. He's an estate agent that knows tech. Is that about right, Kristian?
They broke the mold. Maybe they've made no attempt to put it back together again, Chris. Yeah, that sounds pretty much like me. Good morning. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, mate. Right. So just for the benefit of ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have a show for the last 2 weeks because I went on holiday. And if you think I was doing this, it takes about 5 weeks to do this show. 5 hours a week to do this show. I don't think I'd have got my pass signed by senior management when I was in sunny Italy. So I decided, so we had 2 weeks off. So we'll be looking not just at week 41, we're looking at week 39 and week 40, just to have a look at what's been happening in the property market. So without any further ado, shall we go and have a look at those Stellaroonies? Here we go.
Let's go.
Right, Kristian, here's are the stats for the UK this week. Can you just confirm that you can see them on the screen?
I can. Can you see me dancing a jig in the background?
Beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so what we do, those who have not watched the show before, we do this every single week. It comes out every single Friday on Property Industry Eye. So if you want to know what's happening in the property market, then buckle up, here we go. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, for those that have not watched the show before, I just spend 30 seconds looking at each topic, and then I go to Kristian and we talk about those incessantly. So the first thing we're looking at is listings. And in the week 41, as I said, which is the 16th to the 13th of October, we listed 34,333 properties. And you can see it on the chart now, how that compares to other week 41s, which is the first or second week in October. The average price of a property coming on the market is £423,000. Year to date, we are on 1.447 million listings, and that compared to 2023, we're at 1.337, which is 8.2% ahead this year compared to last year. And compared to the more, if there is such a thing, normal years of 17, 18, and 19, we're 8.6% ahead of that. Sorry, 7.6% and 8.6 for the whole 8 years as well. So 7.6 for 17, 18, and 19, and 8.6 for the whole 8 years. There you go. Even I'm getting that wrapped around. This is, I think, the most important graph here. This is actual weekly numbers. And the white line that you can see here is 2024 number of listings compared to the pink of 23, the green of 2019, the turquoise of 2018, and the yellow of 2017. You'll also see just on this graph here that most years are pretty, for those who have not watched the show before, most years everything just rises up and down with the tide when it comes to the property market. It's just the extent of whether the tide is up or down. But you'll always find that the year always takes off. January and February always tends to be pretty level. And then we have 3 dips in the spring, which is Easter and the 2 bank holidays, a slight drifting down in listings throughout the summer months, a dip down for the Easter bank, for the August bank holiday. I always mix those up. And then we're on a slow drift down on listings now as we head on our ways down to the C word. Okay, what's your thoughts, scores on the doors, Kristian?
Well, it's great. Well, better caveat that. I hope it's great. You know, we've talked in the past about too much stock being the worst kind of hell and a terrible amount of pain. But actually, it looks to me like there's confidence from sellers in coming to the market. You can see quite clearly on your graph, you know, you can hear the marketing now, can't you? Come to the market now to be in by Christmas. So we've been through that phase of agency comms, and like you say, it's starting to slide a little bit now. But I think, you know, it's always in my mind when we have this conversation about, I can't even remember when we talked about it, but we were talking a year of 800 and something thousand transactions, which is just not enough. And so anything that can help fuel that industry, that market growth, I think is a good thing.
Indeed. So we're going to be looking at transaction levels later. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're always looking at the second hand. So whenever we quote the numbers, we always have to add the new homes on top. Interestingly, Kristian, is that because you've been in the show almost since the start, is that we, as a show, were around 10,000 off what, and we were quoting these numbers in late summer. 10,000 off what we ended up in terms of transactions. So again, transaction levels are really important in estate agency, as it more so than house prices, because it's the transactions you get paid on, ladies and gentlemen. So again, we'll be looking at transaction levels a little bit later in the show. Now, interestingly, Kristian, this gets updated every single month because we didn't have a show last week. This is the first time you've seen it. This is the number of properties that are currently on the market. And we always take we put the flag in the ground at the end of every month. So therefore, all the yellows are the 30th of September's, okay? And we'll do the same at the 31st of October. So therefore, all the yellow lines are all the end of September's, and this just gives us a flavour of comparing apples with apples. With stock levels at 724, that some people would say that's quite high, and especially quite high when you compare to the levels that you've seen in 21, but again, those were silly years, and slightly higher than the years that are more normal years of 17, 18, or 19. But let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, this figure here in 2008 was 1.2, 1.3 million. So that's what caused house prices to drop. Too much supply, not enough demand. Yeah. So we need to keep an eye on that one. Again, the trend.
Are you doomsaying there, Chris, or not?
No, I'm just telling.
No, okay. Because I think
I'm just saying I'm just saying that I think it's absolutely vital, and estate agents can do this in their own town. Is if you want to judge the property market, my advice would be, number one, how many properties are currently for sale? So you can do this on Rightmove, available stock. I would then click agree sales as well. So if there's 100 agreed sales, 100 properties for sale, you include sold up to contracts, that takes it up to 150. So by definition, there's 50 sold and 100 available. I know I'm teaching grains to cakes here, but basically track those two numbers and the ratio between them to judge where the market's going. And you can find out, and if you were really smart, you would split it down into detached or semis or terraced and flats, and that will give you a flavour that, if semis seem to be having a propensity to sell of, say, 60% and flats 10%, you can get the dopamine hit of a listing on a flat, but you got 1 in 10 chance of selling that bad boy, or go for the semis. I don't know, or whatever. So no, I'm not doom mongering. But I'm not over optimistic. I'm just
okay. I think I feel a touch of optimism. Certainly, looking just at the news this morning, it seems that inflation's now on point where it needs to be. There's chatter that BOE may now adjust interest rates further, which could be a nice stimulation for the market. I think that we've probably got a lot of landlords sat anxiously at the moment. Are they going to be presenting their properties to the market for sale, or are they going to try and ride this rental storm that we appear to be in at the moment? Is it even worth being in the PRS for some landlords? Who knows? And will that trigger stock events? But I think it looks pretty good, actually.
It's interesting you talk about the budget, and they said the same about tenant fee ban. They said the same about Section 24. They said the same about the EPC rules. The simple fact is this: is that it's an investment. So if you're not going to invest in property, where else are you going to invest? Well, you can buy gold, but gold's quite at a high figure at the moment. You could buy stocks and shares. There's something magical about 9 inches of brick that you can touch and feel and you can understand. And quite frankly, we as estate and letting agents, I mean, I know the estate agents will want to sell it, but the letting agents watching it is it's something I teach my clients, and I write articles for them to publish to attract and retain clients. Is where else are you going to invest your money?
Yeah, it's true. I think the only challenge with that is a lot of other investments are they're not quite so needy. You can just sort of let's call them lock and leave. Whereas property, especially if you're a sort of one property landlord, it's it's a bit of a pain in the bum sometimes, isn't it?
That's why you have letting agents. Although,
there you go.
But again, for those of you that might have not seen this on social media, for letting agents, is that open rent has 15% of the market, and to give you an idea, the 16 biggest letting agents, they have the size of the 16 biggest letting agents in the UK. So that's your Leaders, your Romans, your Connells, your Harts, your Moves, your Romans, your Belvoirs, your Hunters, your Northwoods. If you added them all up together, that is the size of open rent. But this is the killer part. And I know you know this stat, but some of the ladies and gentlemen watching the show might not know this stat. Okay, is that 53% of the property, no, is it 52, 53? We're splitting hairs. 53% of the properties of that were listed last year with open rent had previously been on the market with a high street estate agent.
I think the other question is this: open rent, looking from a data perspective, is quite a high growth business. And they've, for any letting agent to be high growth organically, it's quite complex, which is why you see Property Industry Eye telling us who's bought who this week. What is the value proposition of open rent, and why is it landing so well with landlords? Because agents work so hard, independent agents and the corporates work so hard at presenting a value proposition to landlords.
No, they don't know. Sorry,
I think. Okay.
No, we're absolutely atrocious at it. Basically, all we do is ring up landlords with problems. We don't sit down with our landlords and do portfolio management. We don't ring them up and say, I think we should, what we do is ring them up with problems, and you think, so, well, I can do this. We've let's be frank, 170 pieces of legislation. We're like that swan on the lake, all gracious at top, but flapping around like Billy-O underneath. We're really rubbish at getting.
But the landlords realise that that's what they're getting, and more importantly, that it's worth paying more for.
But it's our
because
job
open rent's high growth, isn't it?
Because we as an industry are not very good at showing what we do and what we save our landlords from. Or we end up, if you're a landlord and you're sorting all the paperwork out and all you're getting is a problem, you say, well, I can sort that out. I can ring Bill the plumber. It's not as easy as that. Not as easy at all. We need to be better at it. Anyway, let's get back to listings for the ladies and gentlemen that are watching the show. let's come back. So we talk about resi sales. We'll get to lettings in a second. Stock levels. Anyway, let's come back. So listings, yeah, not bad at all, are they? Okay.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's move on and let's look at price changes. So in terms of price changes, we reduced 23,935, and the average price of a property that was coming down was £400,000. So this is a new graph. Attention, ladies and gentlemen, new graph. We are comparing the number of price reductions on a monthly basis versus the number of resi sales stock on the market. And we can see here that we are, so you can see here, this is 2019, we were reducing 10 or 12% of our stock. It dropped down, obviously, in the bad times.
Yeah, is that anomalous, though? Because that's saying that we didn't reduce much stock, but in principle, most estate agents run skeletal stuff and not really working then.
Yeah, you can ignore that. I mean, the basic trend is this, that we are reducing 14% of our stock a month. Yeah. When you consider that only...
For Steph Walker's benefit, actually, we're price adjusting.
Okay, price realignment. Yeah, okay then. All right then. Yeah, okay.
But and I think for me, agents. Well, you and I have had this conversation before, but I think for me, and it's an opinion, is that openness and transparency between agent and customer is everything, and being able to have price adjustment conversations without it being a high friction, fractious conversation is all around transparency. And I think for me, the market needs to adjust prices. You don't get it right first time every time. Stock's got to go, and anything will sell at the right price. So I think that I quite like to see a high number there. I know you I don't talk think about overvaluing, it shouldn't have happened, etc.
No. I say that there is such a thing as ethical overvaluing. Okay. Well, unethical overvaluing is
my hypnosis is working on you. That's good.
Okay. So unethical overvaluing is Bob from the corporate estate agent and independents. Just before I get shot.
I'll get you 700, but the other agent said 6. We're better than them.
Okay. So if you deliberately say 700 on that 600, and you know damn well you're not going to get it, and that's unethical, and you don't take responsibility of the price reduction and the vendor management, that's unethical. Ethical overvaluing is, this property I think is around the early 600s. I think we should try around the 650, 675 mark for a period of time just to test the market. And what I will do is I will book in an appointment. We'll book in an appointment in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and we will analyze everything, compare yourself to the market. If we haven't shifted by then we might need to do a price realignment. That is ethical overvaluing.
It's only overvaluing if the vendor didn't know you couldn't get that price.
Here you go, eh? There you go. See, I do change my opinion. I'm big enough and ugly enough to change my opinion. Right, let's move on to sales agreed. Okay, so sale agreed. We've sold subject to contract 25,966 with an average price £371,200. We'll come on to
just go back a graph. The price is interesting, but the number is, I think, more interesting. It's a good number.
Well, no, this is where it gets a lot. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Look at that.
It's line, isn't it?
The white line, ladies and gentlemen, is 2024.
Yeah.
See the gap that we've got between the pink line of 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, these graphs that we're looking at now, okay? They are available to download from YouTube and also the podcast where this comes out. There's a link where you can download these graphs. You can use them internally, and you can use them on your valuations free of charge. I will not charge you for them.
I would definitely stick that in front of a customer. Anyone that's concerned about approaching the market right now, I think that graph says it all. People are they're there to buy, What
I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is that I ask that you do not publish them on social media. Why do I do that? My daytime job, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm a ghostwriter writing content on local property markets and obviously national property markets. And I reserve these graphs for my clients to publish, on social media. They also get graphs like this on and other stuff and write-ups on their local market as well. So just imagine if you had that. On your local town. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Well, I produce stuff for agents like this. So what I would say is please don't publish it on social media unless you are a client of mine. If you are looking for data and property market stats on your town to make yourself look awesome and knowledgeable about the property market, because remember, ladies and gentlemen, out of 10,000 vendors that were surveyed by the Property Academy last year at the EA Masters, 3,600 of them said they chose their agent based on their local property market knowledge. And there's nothing better than talking about the local property market. Listings ain't about the property market. That's just listings. Talking about this is local property market, especially if that was on your local property market. But anyway, let's see the picture. Let's carry on. That white line is really good, isn't it? That is, yeah.
It's great to see, because you've presented very early on in the show a graph that shows that listings are at a high number, available stock is a high number, and sometimes that glut can be dangerous. You've got agents carrying a lot of liability, huge workload with no outcome, and I think this really complements that first graph to say it's coming to the market and sales are being agreed on it. So the market is
well, it's interesting.
I was about to say the word buoyant, then I hate that word.
Well, okay, well, not wishing to put a slight fly in the ointment there.
Well, flies are good.
Couple of new graphs for you. Okay, so this particular graph here shows, so a property when a property leaves an estate agent's book, she only leaves because it withdraws or exchanges. Yeah, we know that, don't we?
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah.
A sale fall through is not leaving the books, is it? It is just talk. It withdraws or she exchanges. And the bottom line is this. This is the percentage of all the properties that left estate agents' books, but on a month-by-month basis. What percentage of them exchange contracts? So back in 2021, early 70%.
I'd like to see this graph with April 20 through to October 22 removed, and then join Jan 20 to Jan 23.
Very, very similar. I'm putting my hand over the screen now. You can do that. Just take out in your mind's eye, or just put your hand over the screen. And then
because I think that what you're seeing there is actually, if you cut that huge COVID-y sell anything really bump out, you're seeing reasonably clean data without that thrown in.
The bottom line is this. And the number here, we can see here was around, that between January 19, ignore 20, on average, 56, 57% of properties that entered estate agents' books ended up exchanging, and you got paid on.
Yes.
Okay. In the COVID years post that you were getting paid on 65 to 70% of them, of the listings. And now, this year, 53%.
Yeah.
We are only being paid on 53% of the properties that we are listing. The other 47% are leaving estate agents' books withdrawn. Now, you're going to turn around and you're going to say, well, Chris, some of those will go to other agents, won't they? Yeah? Some people, that's what some people say to me. Well, yeah, but Chris, they might withdraw and go to a second agent. Right. This is a new stat that I published just before I went away. Some of you might have missed it. Okay. Out of all the sole agency sales that have taken place in the last couple of years, 93% of them sold with the first agent.
That's a good number.
93% of the sales agreed in the last couple of years sold with the first agent. This is not a charter to overvalue, because remembering this is only on the ones that actually sold subject to contract. Yeah. 7% sold with the second agent. So
that's a really interesting number, that.
Now, what is interesting is, so yes, this is not a charter to overvalue, but it's also telling me that there's not actually, agents are really rubbish at picking up secondhand stock.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, Chris. The other is this: have they had to get better at winning the instruction the first time around? Because that second bite of the cherry, which always used to be, I guess many agents relied on, has become a harder and harder prospect for business.
I mean,
and if they have got to win it on that first instruction, you can see that a lot of agents will win it on trust and value, but there's also a high number that will win it on price and fee.
True. I mean, interestingly, the chances of a property selling in the last year with the first agent, as this is sale agreed, not exchange, is 59%, and the chances of a property selling with the second agent, 44%. So there is a difference, but there's not a massive difference, 59 versus 44. So therefore, if only 7% of sales agreed are with the second agent, that's telling me not many properties are swapping agents.
No, the only thing that is interesting is if you look at the high number of withdrawals from the market.
There you go, mind reading.
People are getting annoyed and maybe that first agent service puts them off selling entirely.
Okay, so this is a new graph. The yellow line is the number of withdrawals. The red line is the number of exchange. New graph.
Yeah. Interesting territory, isn't it? And looking at that gap through COVID, it really does. We were just talking a moment ago about the influence that had on the market in general. That line has generally tracked well going back to 19 when you first started it, apart from those blip years where crazy stuff went on. And it's just returning now back down again, isn't it? It's had a bit of a peak and it's just returning now back down to the danger zone.
Yeah, as long as that red line is above but again, I was babysitting some Australian agents a few months ago, and pardon me, they exchange and complete, or whatever that's called there, on 80 to 90% of the properties they list. They consider 80 really, 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 really bad. Good agents, late 90s.
You can tell us why?
I don't know. Are they
because they want to sell them more rather than just wanting to instruct?
Different market.
Auction.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, it costs them more on a per property basis. I mean, everyone knows
it costs the vendor about five to 10 grand to put a house on the market.
They've got a lot of skin in the game, haven't they? There's a lot riding on actually completing the transaction.
Anyway, let's get back. Tell you what, we are rambling a treat at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, but I hope you find it interesting. So again, as I said, sales agreed. Gross sales, we've done that. Year to date, we're on 1,019,000, which is 14.3% ahead of 2023 and 7.8%.
Does that put us at 1.2 for the year, do you think? Is it going to be 21?
1.2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. I mean,
there's enough to go around. Everybody eats.
So there's the net sales. And looking at where we are now, I think second-hand sales will end on 1 million. You add new homes on, which is around 200,000, will end up on 1.2. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to that in a second. Average price agreed 371 on a property sale agreed. As I said, 25,960. The sell-through rate is the percentage of properties of what percentage of your stock are you selling per month. Okay, so we are shifting around 14%, 14.5%, 14.7% of our stock on a month-by-month basis. This is the resi sell-through rate, not the resi fall-through rate, the resi sell-through rate. But again, it's always cyclical, ladies and gentlemen. There's Christmas, up in the summer, down, up and down, up and down. It'll go down again to here, and then she'll go back up again, as always. Okay, fingers crossed. Again, we won't spend much time on this.
That is going to make agents hungry for more stock.
Oh, but again, I find it fascinating that we get turned on by new stock when in reality we've got our existing stock that we should be working. Because again, valuers don't like to do vendor management because they told them 700 on the 600 and they don't like rejection. Bless them. Okay.
You know what though, Chris? If you get the price right and you get a motivated vendor, and you're working your buyers properly, if you haven't sold it or, if you haven't got a nod that it's going to go within a week to a week and a half, I think a lot of people probably move on, don't they? And think, right, I'll let that one just flap in the wind for a while and go and find something that will sell.
But is that right? I don't think it is.
I didn't bring in any ideological perspective, just that you know in your heart of hearts that if you've judged the price right against the market,
Yep.
and you've got motivation from the seller's perspective, it's going to go.
Indeed. This is a graph which we show every month, and this shows the number of resi sales, which agreed as a percentage of listings. Okay, so the blue line is the total number of listings per month, and the red line with a yellow glow is the percentage of listings, the percentage of sales agreed as a percentage of listings. Okay, so at the moment we are sale agreeing around 75%, but again that nets out after fall throughs down to around that 53 mark. So again, fall throughs are a big issue as well. Interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, anyone watching this, the ICG and the website is ICG approved, and you go to that website and you click on the word events. They're running an event next Thursday
It's
the
22nd, is it, of October?
it's Thursday the 22nd at Twickenham. It's a free event.
Twickers.
And we're going to be showing you how you can get 20% more income by not increasing market share.
Alchemy.
Okay. It's using technology, working smarter, blended fees. Blended fees, absolutely groundbreaking.
Take a bit of selling, but yeah.
If you get the valuer on board the magic with blended fees is that you give the iPad to the vendor, and then the vendor, ladies and gentlemen, blended fees is a mixture of fee up front or fee at the end, or a blend of the two. You give it to the vendor and they choose their fee. That's the magic. They're now in control. Amazing. Honestly, groundbreaking. Okay. We're also talking about reservation agreements as well. Okay. Where basically you get your fall through rates to single digits. Okay.
Well, 53% is a ghastly number.
To get them through to exchange, yes. To get them through to exchange.
Put it this way, if you had anything, but if you were selling something perishable, you wouldn't bother, would you?
I mean, we'll just, let's just remind ourselves that the fall through rate at the moment is 25%. Has been hanging around there like a bad smell. 25% of the properties that are sale agreed fall through. You can get your sale agreed, you can get your fall throughs with reservation agreements. But again, the magic is this. You need the buy-in from the valuers. You need the training of the valuers. This will all be discussed at the ICG webinar. Again, it's free to attend. Please do go to icgapproved.co.uk, click on events, you click there and you go and have a look. Just before we do the fall through rates, let's just remind ourselves, this is the gap. This is the gap between average asking price of properties coming onto the market versus average asking price of the properties sale agreed. And again, almost identical. This here was this is London coming back on the market. Everyone from London goes on holiday and dumps their houses on the market. And again, we're only talking about 4,000 or 5,000 homes, but it makes London makes such a massive difference to the property market when it comes to average prices. And then she levels off. This is going to happen again. It's the gap that we're interested in, and the gap this week is 14%, which I'm quite happy with. It has been in the 20s, so I'm really happy with that. Just to remind ourselves, so that's the average price. That's a week in isolation with the average asking price of the properties coming on the market versus the average asking price of the property sale agreed. Ladies and gentlemen, the higher priced properties have a lower propensity to sell, or a lower chance. That's why there's such a difference. We're not saying that all houses coming on at 423 are going to sell for 371. It's just more of the lower end sales, so it's going to drag the average down. Let's just keep going. That's the difference, 14.2, which again compared to 23 is really good. I'm happy. Anything under 16 is below, and that's good. Number of fall throughs this week, unfortunately, still remains quite stubborn at around 6,500, but the fall through rate is only 25%, which you can see here with the percentage. And again, I think this is a more important thing is instead of comparing fall throughs with sale agreed, let's look at fall throughs compared to your sales pipeline. And again, that's pretty stable, isn't it? So I'm not too worried that the sales fall throughs at six in the sixes. I'm more concerned with the percentages But again, you can get that down with reservation agreements. Please, ladies and gentlemen, reservation agreements are groundbreaking stuff. And I'm not being paid to say that. I just love them. Anything on fall throughs before we go and look at net sales, mate?
The fall throughs are the industry's sort of disease almost, aren't they? One thing I noticed the other day, I don't know if you've seen the guys at Chartwell Noble, reasonably new agency, top boys, really know what they're doing. They shared a review, and what was really interesting about what they shared was the review pointed out what the client had seen in their estate agency versus what they see in others that they've come up against. And it's this person might even have been a stooge, I don't know, but this person knew what an estate agency was supposed to feel like and had felt it from that provider, and felt the need to tell everybody. And I think, you've talked about technology, you've talked about changing the level of bind or bond within the transaction by using things like reservation agreements or maybe, auction, modern method, that sort of stuff. But I also think that people notice what it's supposed to feel like, what they're supposed to get. And I think it's absent in a lot of agency service offerings. People are dramatically underwhelmed by what selling or buying a property is like. And it's so nice to see an agent actually validating that with a review that says, this is how it should feel. This is how good it can be if you're using an agent that knows what they're doing and wants you to feel great.
Isn't it interesting that you move, which are, a franchise operation where basically they are the personal agent. So they have the same person that does the vow, puts it on the market, does the viewings, does the vendor management, does the offer, does the sales progression. Their numbers, in terms of saleability, through the roof.
Yeah.
When they go to the award ceremony, the customer service is off the scale.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe...
I think this is. I noticed there was some news today. I didn't really read it actually, but essentially the headline is that the number of sort of self-employed agents is growing. And if you think about it, for me, every business or any business is only really two things: capacity and capability. What can you do and how much of it can you do? And, we've seen in the industry businesses delivering at scale and businesses delivering at a very low scale, but high value proposition. And I think what's probably happening in that changing space is we've got businesses delivering at scale. EXP is probably one of the examples, but still presenting that very customer focused value and service proposition. And if you go back to the 1970s when independent agents sprang up, that's why they're all named, eponymously. It was a one-man band almost service proposition, and customers felt the best of it. And maybe the industry's sort of recognizing that it's struggled for a long time to deliver value at scale, and maybe now that's becoming a thing again. Value at scale.
I think the two things that ruined estate agency, well, three things actually: CRMs, because we lost the hot box.
Okay, what's next? You didn't lose the hot box. You just didn't realize how to use the new one properly. But anyway, what's next?
No, that's true. No, hold on. You're true. You're right.
I know.
Okay. Second one.
I worked with a guy who put them back on the desks, paper Rolodexes with cards. I was so upset. I nearly set the building on fire.
Yeah.
Who does that?
You're a tech head, mate. Okay. Number two, portals making estate agents lazy.
Okay.
I think portals. I think that they're actually portals. The right move today is cheaper than if we'd have carried on with the newspapers.
I mean, you just bashed an Asian hornet nest there.
Published it on LinkedIn last week, mate.
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
I
ladies and gentlemen,
wholeheartedly agree with you that the portals.
And that is, and again, that just so you're aware, that's even if you took a month off at Christmas, it's still cheaper.
I couldn't agree anymore. I think the portals are all excellent value for money. Actually, I don't think, they may have differential prices, but they're all excellent value for money because they have the punters and they are a firewall between the punters and you. Unless those punters are starting to walk past your branch, or they're actively seeking your website, or they're being charmed by your social media presence and therefore avoiding the portal. So I think that is fair. I do think the portals overperform to a certain extent, and agent businesses, especially those that aren't operating at scale, so those that lack a big contact center or other sort of very process-driven methodology for capturing and acquiring new business, I think the portals give you too many leads, especially lettings. I know you've got sort of agent response or whatever it's called and things like that help you handle that, but the volume of inquiries from the portals is very high and hard to accommodate, and the quality of those inquiries varies dramatically. So yes, I agree with you. It's excellent value for money, but using that tool well isn't easy.
Because isn't it interesting that estate agents pay for the portals and estate agents want vendor and landlord leads, when in reality the job of the portal is to put the property in front of the punter and get buyers and tenants. I know some of those buyers
not necessarily. I think that maybe was a case when things were need driven. But actually, who now doesn't have the right move to use one brand name? I know there are others. Who doesn't have the right move app on their mobile phone? No one. It's people just love it.
What I was trying to say is this. I probably wasn't clear enough. I apologise. Is that estate agents see Rightmove as Rightmove's job is to provide them vendor and landlord leads? When in reality,
that's in the sales pitch. I think that's the first slide in the deck, isn't it? No, we'll bring you leads.
Yes. Oh, but again, tenant leads, buy leads. I know some of those buyers can be vendors. Fair goes. Okay, fair goes. But the bottom line,
I think vendors start their selling research on the portal.
Yes, but the estate agents should be using social media and other methods to capture vendor leads. And
they have to get more than their fair share, and the only way to do that is by process-driven methodology for securing every ounce of value out of those portal leads, plus X. And X is, again, you've got your mail drops, your 2020s, you've got your door knocking, you've got your social media, you've got your own web presence, you've got your community influence. Take Matt Nichol in Droitwich. Not Droitwich, actually, in Worcestershire. Matt Nichol's business is it's interstitial with the world.
That's a new word.
It's a part of the community. It's so like you say, they're using the portals, they're using them wisely and advantageously, but they're coming away from those and adding further, greater, wider value by social media, public presence, community influence, all the things that localities appreciate.
You are so right. And this is where most estates go wrong with their social media. It just looks like Rightmove with the word Facebook. Listing. Look how good we are. It's not. Get involved with the community. A big, massive tip, ladies and gentlemen. You as people, not the agency, join local Facebook groups and post interesting content which doesn't sell, doesn't talk about your estate agency or your services, and you'll become the king or queen of the community. You will become, wait for it, the digital mayor. I wonder who mentioned that one 6-8 years ago. Do you know? It's like banging your head against the wall with the industry sometimes. Anyway, let's get back onto our.
Going to need a bigger wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still watching, just please, I hope you're enjoying it. But basically, we know damn well no one watches this show. I know it says we get about 1,000 views a week on this, but no, I think no one's watching it really. I think they're all bots, mate.
Okay.
No one cares what we've got to say. So, let's go through net sales. Well, again, look at that. Net sales on a week by week basis. That's just remind. Look, we are a gnat's whisker from 2021. I mean, how good's that? You would have said that, would you? You would have said, look at the gap between. Hold on, the pink line is 2022. Look at that gap. That is the gap.
And you know what, Chris? There's a lot going on at the moment, and I'm sure there's always a lot going on. But the world's at war. Well, not the world's at war, but it's pretty bloody close. Closest I think in my lifetime. The cost of living is harsh. There is uncertainty in borrowing and financial economic stuff. There's been a change of government. It's actually really bloody nice to be sat here with you and seeing graphs that are going up, transactional volumes high, Sales agreed is looking healthy. It's actually quite nice because there is an element of uncertainty surrounding us, and we haven't got through the budget yet. That'll be soon, won't it?
It will, and I still believe I'm of the opinion that they're they're seeding the press with bad news so they can come back and say actually it wasn't as bad as we said it was, and then we'll think, oh, hey.
Isn't that just what politics is?
No, do you know how dare you say such things? Cumulative net sales to date 781,900 nearest damn it, which is 17% ahead of 2023 and 5.5% ahead of the average of 17, 18 and 19. So, not bad at all, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. Big round of applause to selling lots of houses. We've already done this. We've done that graph up. Let's do a couple more graphs before we go to sunny Torbay. This is the number of properties that are in agents' pipelines. So again, some of you are going to turn around. So this is end of September. We always close the book at the end of the month. 30th of September, and the other white lines are the other Septembers throughout the years going back to 2017. Some of that is the fact that sales are taking longer to go through, but again, looking at the stats, the length of time a property takes to go through today compared to 17, 18 or 19 is not that much different. Pipelines are really good. Pipelines are good. Yeah, and again, the white lines are just end of September, so we can compare apples with apples. A couple more graphs here, ladies and gentlemen. This shows you the ratio of available stock versus what's in your sales pipeline. The orange line is for sale. The greeny color is the properties in your pipeline. And again, it's just a good mix. So that's the proportional mix. And
again, if you cut COVID out of pretty much all the graphs we're looking at, they're quite clean lines.
Yep.
It's interesting, where this is headed. I'm assuming it's about to go back down the bump again, as would then repeat on
I would
historic data.
It will do, but at least we're expecting it. Right then, here we go. This is pound per square foot figures. Now we get an indication of what's happening throughout the month, but we actually have to wait to the end of the month to then actually get a concrete figure. And we do strip out the posh stuff, okay? Anything over 5 million, we strip. It actually might be slightly lower than that. I must check that. But I strip.
So 3-bed and Oldley Edge doesn't make the cut, huh?
No, 3-bed will make the cut. It's a lovely village though, is Oldley Edge. I don't know if you've ever been. Beautiful place.
My grandparents lived there when I was a child.
Fantastic. I could tell. You could tell you come from good stock.
Best steamed pudding and gravy in the whole of the universe.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. So the pound per square foot is a fantastic measure, and we're measuring three things here. The red line is the pound per square foot at listings. Quite a big jump there in September. That was London. Okay, it happened again last September. Look, whoosh. It happened there. Look, there's the whoosh. That didn't happen so much in 20, but again, that was a weird market or a different market. So we can ignore that. That'll come back down, all being well. What we're particularly looking at is that orange line, and that's the pound per square foot. And we ended up on £339 a square foot. Last month it was 338, and the month before that 341. The month before that 342. And
does this not include new build? Is it just second-hand stock?
Just second-hand stock.
Okay.
Okay. So what we know is this. Okay, is that the orange line, this pound per square foot, and the movement within it will match the land registry with a 92% Pearson correlation coefficient, which basically means we can foretell what's going to happen to the land registry 5 months in advance by following that line there, that orangey line. Now, the greeny line is the pound per square foot at exchanged. That is not the land registry figure. It's pretty close though. But if you could just imagine, you just see that orange line. If you moved it slightly to the right, it's where that peak matched with that peak. The you'd have to trust me on this one, but if anyone doesn't trust me, pick the phone up to me, 07950 147 572. I'm a bit of a stats geek fest. That orange line matches the land registry almost perfectly. So we can tell what's going to happen to the land registry. So we know for a fact, ladies and gentlemen, that the house prices in the land registry are going to be drifting slightly in about 5-6 months' time. Okay, going to be pretty drifty downy, but not drop. But at least the magic thing here, we can tell when the top of the market is, and we can tell where the bottom of the market is. So that's the advantage of watching the show.
Drifty down without drop.
Yeah, it's a drifty.
Drifty down, but without drop.
No, but let's remember that September 33968, August 33831, July 34111, June 34267.
They're quite juicy numbers, aren't they, in terms of pound square foot?
Yeah, but I tell you what, you go up north and it's like 70 quid a square, well, just over 100. And then if you go to like central London, it's 1,500, 3,000, silly numbers, brand bucket stuff. Okay, I think we are at the end of the first.
I guess also though the pound per square foot figure, when you compare, say, the north or where I live in the Midlands and then London, the pound per square foot figure also includes its environs, its curtilage. So in London, you're highly unlikely to have much outdoor space. Whereas, where I live, everybody has some outdoor space, really. There's not many apartment blocks and things like that. So that pound per square foot figure is, I suppose, diluted by you've got to pay for the garden, especially if you've got a big one. Interesting stats, that.
Yeah, we'll, as I said, I do them on a local town by town basis, and it's a lot more difficult to judge a property market against the land registry. But definitely on a national basis, it's almost perfect, and regionally, it's pretty darn good. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the first part of the show. We did say half an hour, but Kristian and I said no one's watching, so it doesn't really matter, Kristian. We were rambling a bit, but I hope you found value of that.
Do you know one of the best buttons on any media player is playback speed? I have found people that I used to find terribly boring, really quite enjoyable and charismatic by putting them on 1.75.
Fantastic. So if you speak really quick like that, let's go again. Anyway, let's start rambling. Let us go and have a look at the stats. So here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be using a piece of software called Insight. Insight is from a firm called 20EA. 20EA have a number of different software platforms. This particular one is called Insight. Insight is Rightmove Plus on steroids with a couple of rockets attached to it with lasers coming out. This is I know it's very easy for me to say, this is game-changing stuff when it comes to MI, management information stuff. Both myself and Kristian are fanboys of it. And this is available to estate agents. There is a free version with limited amount of information. And then you can buy it on like a postcode basis, a regional basis, and a national basis. I have the package for the national basis. If you work for your town on your postcode, you would just get it for the postcodes that you cover. Okay. I must stress to you that 20EA have not paid me one penny to promote this piece of software. And if you did want to talk to 20EA, do not mention my name because I'm not paid commission. However, they do give it to me free of charge on the understanding that I use it for the show to benefit those viewing this show, and also to enable you to see what's happening. So let's go and have a look. And again, if you're an agent that's suffering from overvaluing or cheap fees and you are a better agent and you need to prove that, then this bit of kit, if you have the stats that back that up, will show it to you. So should we dive in and go and have a look then? Okay. So we're looking at Torbay. Okay. Now for the benefits of the ladies and gentlemen, what Torbay is, I'll just pull up the map so we're aware of it. I don't know if you've ever been on holiday down there. Have you?
No, but I feel like I know it well. I was a big Faulty Towers fan.
Yeah. So We are looking at the postcodes of TQ1, TQ2, TQ3, TQ4, and TQ5. Torquay is TQ1 and 2, Paignton is 3 and 4, and TQ5 is Brixham. So you've got that there. Okay, you can see that on the screen, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I am fully aware, ladies and gentlemen, that there are some agents that cover particularly, say, Brixham on their own. But looking at most of the stats, what you tend to find is that a lot of the agents, if you're in Paignton, you get stuff in Torquay and vice versa. So I've decided to do a larger sweep and just do it all in one go. Okay, so we're going to be going to have a look, and then we'll just dive in. So Kristian, as always, I'll just keep talking. You cut across me if you see something interesting. Is that okay?
You got it.
Here we go. So first off, we're looking at new instructions, and we're starting off between the 1st of January 2019 and the 15th of October 2024. So that's 5.5 years. We are looking at the postcodes of TQ1 to 5, and we've taken out new homes because I think they skew the figures. We are looking at the total number here. You can see here is the number of new listings because we've got new instructions here. And again, you can judge here exchanges, fall throughs, relistings. It's a brilliant kit. And again, let's just have a quick look. We'll look at whole months. So for the month of September 2024, in those postcodes, 524 properties came onto the market. When you compare that with last year at 475, 474 the year before that, and in 21, 429. And obviously the crazy year of 2020, 598. Quite interesting. The first thing that spots me there is that most nationally, the uplift in listings has been a lot greater than that. So yeah, it appears either 2020 was not as strong as other years, or we've not seen the growth that we have seen around the country. So again, I don't know what's happened there.
Well, also, there was a big uplift in people in 2020. And in particular, probably 21, just trying to sort of piece days
moving
together.
Out to the southwest.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, by Seaside, wasn't it? Sick of London, and I think there's data that says they've all gone back again now, or certainly it's a big number. But it must have had an influence on areas like this.
Interestingly, stock levels in the southwest are compared to is eye-watering. And
that area is quite accessible. Cornwall, you've almost got to prove the earth's flat to get to most parts of Cornwall, whereas actually that peninsula heading down to Salcombe is very accessible. And I think, am I right in saying that Salcombe's like one of the highest, it's most expensive pound per foot area in the country or something?
I don't know that. So
the prices there are, insane. And that whole area probably is a sort of micro market of its own.
I mean, interestingly, here now we're looking at average stock levels for September, and you can see here that in 2021 stock levels are at 1,450, and now they're at 3,405, which is more than double.
Yeah,
nationally. So therefore, nationally, we've seen an upgrowth. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched the show earlier on, the purple graph with the yellow lines on, we've seen a growth in stock of around 70 or 80%. This is a growth of around 130%. That is quite dramatic.
Yeah.
That's screaming at me. Yeah. So therefore, if there's more properties coming onto the market, are they selling? Well, let's get back and have a look and see.
Well, I think the other question is where you've got areas like this, is why are they coming onto the market?
Well, that's something that we can't track on a graph. That's kind of anecdotal evidence that the agent's watching this. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're just going to have a look at the top 10-ish and probably a bit more agents in the area and see how their market share for residential sales listings has grown. Obviously, the numbers have grown, but it's the percentage of market share. So the average price, 30,086 properties have come onto the market since the 1st of Jan 2019, with an average price of 296. So we're going to keep an eye on that one because we're going to look at the upper quartile as well, because I think it's always interesting to see that. So let's go and have a look at Taylor's. So Taylor's are a large independent agency from the Torbay area, and their market share seems to be around 2019 was around the 10% mark, and is now probably around the 12% mark. So that's fairly decent, Taylor's. Well done. that your market share is great. It's not grown by amount, but you're the number one agent, and it looks like you have been the number one agent. Let's see how you compare with your competitors. So let's go and look at the lovely people from Absolute. Now, again, there's that spike there, which let me guess is April. Yep, April 2020. So again, no one was putting their house on the market. You don't know, that might have been a computer glitch. So we've got to ignore that. So let's just ignore that glitch there. Their market share in 2019 was around the 4 or 5% mark. Post-COVID, around 7 or 8. We can see this now. Going highs 13s. We've dropped a little bit in 13 to around 5. They've picked their socks up to around 11, and now they're on. So I would generally say, and again, we don't know what fees they're charging here, but their market share is slightly lower than it was in 23. But that doesn't mean that they're earning less money, because their fees might be higher. They might be going for higher price properties. Look at their average price though, 319 compared to 296. So probably, again, let's just look at Taylor's, 268. So they tend to be more of a lower to middle market. Absolute tend to be more of a Marks and Spencer's market, I suspect. Let's go and look at Williams Hedge. So they were 10% around 2019, and then just around that 7 or 8% mark. Let's go Connells. So again, the famous Connells, let's put your house on the market. Connell sequence, very famous for their Boxing Day. So you can see here, there you go. This is so that's December. So again, all those spikes are your market, or your December properties coming on the market. We'll be interested to see if that actually follows through with some spikes on sales. We'll look at that in a second. Let's go and look at Bradley's. Bradley's are a big Southwest independent agents, 30-ish.
Great business.
Yeah. Heard lots about them, and people that I trust say they're a good operation. That's quite spiky though, 6 to 8. Yeah, that's not so consistent. Let's go and look at Eric Lloyd. Eric Lloyd, 350. Okay. So
big spikes there, from what are we sat at now? Somewhere between 3 and 4%, up to 12% at times. It's very interesting data.
Some of that could be, we're going to look at the upper quartile. The upper quartiles do tend to be a bit spikier.
Yeah.
Bruce Brixham. Okay. Yep. Okay. John Lake. H.S. Owen.
Thought they were cars.
Peg Estates.
Okay. That's a growth business.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. HomeWise will ignore, because they're just like they're rehashed properties where HomeWise put them on with retirement mortgages. John Couch, her market share seems to be dropping. Ridgewater. Market shares, okay, but again, I'm aware that they're more of a letting agent. We'll have a look at their stats in a second.
Yeah.
Let's go look at PB. Yeah, as I would expect. Okay, Millers. Again, they're part of the country. Right? Bryce Baker Woods. Hart.
Do you think they're lettings focused there? Because you'd expect Hart to index a bit higher than that.
You would.
Stags, again, they're probably looking at the higher end stock, aren't they?
Don't know. Property, we'll go down to 25. Amanda Ashford, is that how you pronounce it? Well done, AAs, we like that. Gargan and Hart seem to be dropping. Fulfords and Pinchcombs. Okay, right. Oh, no, that's fair goes. Let's look at the upper quartile. Okay, so if we're talking 483, let's just double check. Hold on. 30,000. Okay, I think we're going to probably find it difficult with the upper quartile. 30,000. Wow, there's not many houses above.
Are we still over? Yeah, we're still 19 to 24. Okay.
It's not many.
If you take out the 6 to 750. Right, 972 over, was it 5 years? Is it, give or take?
This is the upper. What's it? Not a quintile is the upper 25%. What's the is it like decimile? Decimal?
Is it?
I don't know. Hey, no one's watching.
Every day's a school day, Chris. I think I learned something there.
Okay,
and you're the only person I know that remembers it was Pearson's coefficient. So everyone else,
it's amazing what the
forgotten that years ago. Yeah,
fantastic. Right. John Couch or John Couch, how you pronounce it, they seem to be the daddy agent when it comes to listings.
Yeah, and then Stag's right behind them. So even though they index low in the actual grand scheme of things, you can see that they're doing well in that.
Okay, they're listing
mid to high value, I suppose.
Let's see if they're selling them though. We'll have a look at that in a second. So a quick look at Stags, John Couch or Couch, if they're dropping. Absolutes, HS Owens. Again, you're gonna have really spiky numbers in this upper whatever number it is. Okay, at Knight Frank. Oh, those are.
But you're looking at those, right? So I mean, I don't know. Let's take Knight Frank for example. What was the property count at Knight Frank? 29
over 5 years.
Yeah.
That's
say an average fee of what? I don't know, 12 grand.
And the rest.
But really? All right, 20 grand. There still isn't much of a business there, is there?
No, but they haven't got an office. I don't believe they have an office there, so they're probably out of their offices. You know, the world stops at Exeter. Remember, according to some people, it's like London. You know, everything within London, especially central London, they don't know it exists. Bless them. Right. Okay. Let's move on. We'll look at sales in a second. So stock levels. We'll just have a quick look. We can see how your stock levels are doing. So Taylor's, your stock levels are at 377, and in the air, and 3 years ago, it was 159. So let's look at absolute. Your stock levels are nearly double again. So it looks like okay. Let's look at William Hedge. Let's look at your stock levels. No, that's not William Hedge. Williams Hedge, sorry. They've almost tripled. Okay. Connell's only doubled.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big drop in COVID there, isn't there? A lot of these, from where they started back in 19 to where they are now, are quite stable growth numbers.
Okay. We'll just see if New Homes does any difference. No, not really. Not really at all. Right. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So this is my favorite. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this. To most people, this is just some numbers, but there is true gold in this data, and we'll have a look at what percentage of the asking prices are you getting. So we're going to look at the saleability rate in a second. We're just going to look at this. So what are we looking at here? Okay. We are looking at the number of listings that you have put onto the market this year and the last 12 months. And therefore, 20 EA Insights will do an automated valuation model of your listings and then compare it with what you've put it on the market for. So therefore, Taylor's are overvaluing by 1.1%. Absolute 1.3, Williams Hedge 0.86, Connell's 1.8, Pegs at 0.58. Okay, that's nice and tight. I like that. This, not that it needs it. This is the Chris Watkin, gets you the Chris Watkin approval. Then how much are you then knocking off the asking price? So on average, the most agents are overvaluing by 1.6%. Then how much are you then knocking off? And on average, this is quite high. I haven't seen this number as high for about 6 months. On average, most properties in Torbay are being knocked by 3.93%, which again, if you think about it, Kristian, there's a lot more stock. So that might be why they're being chipped a bit more. Do you not think?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
But it looks like they're being chipped by, the amount they're being chipped, 5.7, 4.52, 5.5. So therefore, for example, Taylor's are overvaluing by 1.1%, and on average, that original asking price, 5.7 is being knocked off that original asking price. So
yeah,
a lot of people don't like percentages. So therefore, what they say is this, right? If we all put on a £350,000 house, what would you get for it? Now, this is really powerful stuff, because you can go into someone's house and you can say, Mrs. Miggins, here is proof. So if I was absolute here, Look, there you go. 338,649 versus Taylor's at 333,513. So you could actually say, Mrs. Miggins, if you put your house on the market with me at Absolute, you will get, compared to Taylor's, and I'm not criticizing Taylor's, I'm just using the stats, £5,200 more.
Mm.
That's powerful stuff,
Isn't it?
isn't it?
That take-home price. And, you know, I think when you articulate it in that manner, what you pay the estate agent is irrelevant.
You're right.
You know, and discussing fee rates, you know, I saw something the other day where it was, we didn't like the other guy, but his fee was, insert ludicrously low fee here. Will you match it? And it's an interesting perspective, isn't it? You didn't like him, so you didn't want to work with him or her, but you want me to match their low fee. And I think for the vendor perspective, it's a conversation like that says, you know, it's bullshit. Why are we having this low fee conversation? Once you've paid my fee, you will still have more money in your pocket than if you'd used anybody else in town, and my fee's the biggest.
Absolutely bang on, mate. And that's where I think we as valuers need, let me just pull up the screen again. We as valuers.
Just one thing, I very much hope that the rise of the self-employed model helps with that. You know, I think the big business model has always been delivering listings at scale, conversion, and I'm not going to use. No, it doesn't matter. Just doing as much as possible. Whereas I wonder with the self-employed model, they get paid well on things they sell, but can't afford to work for nothing. And therefore, you know, it'd be nice if the self-employed model growing across UK starts to get them walking away from bad deals.
Well, isn't it interesting? Because I've done some analysis on this. I haven't published it yet. But if we look at the top 100 estate agents and see how many 100 houses they put on the market, how many actually go through to exchange of contracts, and then compare the top 5 self-employed models, the gap, the percentage of homes that actually get exchanged, i.e. the agents gets paid on, is streets ahead of the top 100.
That makes so much sense because, you know, this is a Bob Scarfism, nothing to do with me, but listing on as a liability. It's only an asset once it's SSTC. And I think for these...
It's only an asset with exchange, mate.
Well, that's true, although, okay, that's true.
Okay, yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
And I think for the self-employed agents, why would you want a customer that wants to pay you as little as possible, has an unrealistic view on price? They're going to make you miserable. Why bother? Sack them off. Move on.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, you know, if you are considering going self-employed, many of the self-employed models have offered to pay me commission to recommend them. But if anyone is wanting my strong opinion on who is the best and who isn't, then I will get more than happy to give you that opinion.
I love how the models are evolving, Chris. They're de-risking the model for people. And yes. I think that's the challenge, is that giant leap. I mean,
some of them are paying a bit up front, but I think the big one is this, ladies and gentlemen, is the choice of self-employed. Let's do it now. Let's give value to the ladies and gentlemen watching. The choice of self-employed estate agent model really comes down to the relationship that you have with your person at the model. The percentage split is irrelevant. What is interesting, you know, we talked earlier on about Ian Preston. If you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, get yourself to Twickenham next Thursday on the 22nd, because he talks about how he's had to change his mindset from being a boss to a coach and a guide.
I really love that. And one of the things I feel quite firmly about is with entrepreneurialism or self-employment or whatever, there is a spiritual perspective. And I'm not talking, you know, apparitions and visions. I'm saying that there are belief systems around what you do and how you do it. And in any sales role, the person at the other end of the dialogue can feel your belief. We have a sixth sense for it. And I think that one of the magical elements of the evolution of the self-employed model is rather than how can we just be like other agents but self-employed, so we haven't got to pay them wages and make it much cheaper for us. It's all now about what is our value proposition. Why would somebody want to be a part of this organization?
Yeah.
And when people believe, it comes across, and the customers there going, these people, honestly, they believe.
You go up to Preston Baker, and it's like a cult.
Yeah,
in a good way.
So it should be.
So what I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is this: I hear people watching this, probably about 6 bosses from Torquay. If you are a boss of a state agency and you're worried that your best value is going to set up as in competition, then get your backsides up on the GWR train to Twickenham and listen to what Ian Preston's got to say. Groundbreaking stuff, and he'll tell you about how to change your mindset. And he did it where it was half and half. Okay, he didn't go self-employed all on day one. But so Ian Preston will help you convert and bring people on board. Anyway, sorry, we're rambling on and time is moving swiftly. Okay, let us have a look at this. Now, this is the next graph. There is. If you thought the last one was good, ladies and gentlemen, this is just sublime. Okay, we are looking here at how good estate agents are. Okay, we're looking at between the 16th of October 23 and the 15th of October 24. Most estate agents will get their kicks from new instructions and sale agreed. So just ignore these, please.
Just order it by percentage of exchange. Go on.
Sorry?
For those at the back, just hit the exchange percentage column header. That's the one. Hit that.
Yeah, because they're so small. I'm
Right, well, let's just jump down the 100% and just get to where was the top one? 66%.
I'm keeping it at this because we're looking at the big boys and girls. We can scroll down in a second, all right? Because this is where the true magic happens. Okay, we'll humour you in a second, right?
You don't need to. I can see it there. HSO in down there, 61.35 versus what? Have we got a 40 there? 40.29.
Let me explain, ladies and
gentlemen. A lot of money on the table, aren't they? Yeah, go on.
Right, okay. I said earlier on in the show that a property only leaves an estate agent's books if she exchanges or withdraws. So therefore, out of all the properties that have left your books, so in Taylor's Torbay, in those postcodes, 651 properties, because that's 354 plus 297, have left Taylor's books in the last year. Okay, and of those 651 properties, 354 of them have exchanged contracts, which means Taylor's exchanged contracts on 54.38% of the properties that they have listed in the last 12 months, which is really good when you compare that the average in Torquay is 42. You've got Absolute at 59, and again, we've got to give them a big round.
What's the average price, did you say? Is it 290 something grand?
350, wasn't it? Somewhere around there.
Right, well, let's drop that out. So let's just do 297 times £2.5 grand.
Yep.
£742,500.
What? Who's what? Taylors have lost that fee.
That's a £2.5 grand average fee times 297 withdrawn properties. So that's work they did.
Taylors have lost. Did you say 700,000?
Well, I've done an average fee of 2.5.
Yeah.
And you said that the average price was up in the 300, so I've discounted it back from the 1 plus VAT. 297 times that gives you 740 grand, 742,500 quid.
So basically, Taylors have lost £750,000 in fees
for work they already did.
Yeah. Then you've got.
If they were a plumber, their wife would kick them out.
Absolute 59.
You'd probably delete that from the video.
Okay, so Absolute at 59, which again, if you look in the top 10, they are the best in the top 10. So that is really impressive. Connells are at 40%. So again, if I was going up against Connells and I was Absolute, Absolute could say, Mrs. Miggins, you've got a 4 in 10 chance of moving, or with me, a 6 in 10 chance. You've got a 50% more greater chance of moving home with me than Connells. I'm not criticising Connells.
I think also, Chris, there's a wider point, which is, and I don't know what the figures are here compared to other parts of the country. It could be that in the Torbay area, there's some complexity around actually people coming to the market, testing it and not following through with it. But every single agent, until we get to these anomalous 100%ers, every single agent is suffering the same pain. they're doing work for nothing.
It's the level. I mean, again, 42 is quite low. Nationally, it's 53. Okay. So you could, traders could be chuffed to bits that they're well ahead of the average. And I'd be quite chuffed with Taylor's because normally number one agent in the town has pretty lowish exchange to listings ratio. So I'd be chuffed with that. Absolutely, I'd be really chuffed with that exchange ratio. Let's have a look. So that's it. So let's have a look. So if you recall on that previous screen, they all value quite tightly. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Right, let's go back. Where were we? More screens than you could. Right, let's go have a look and see your fall through rates. So Taylor's fall through rate at 29, Absolute at 19. I mean, that is cracking. Well done, Absolute, on your fall through rates. I'm not sure what you're doing there. It could be reservation agreements, don't know. But there's nothing there that screams at me.
Could just be setting expectation properly, Chris. They might not need a product there. It could just be that they have transparent and honest, open conversation.
So what's that screaming at me is that Taylors have a high. You're more likely to have yourself fall through with Taylors as opposed to Absolute. So one thing that's screaming at me with Taylors that I'd want to look at if I was a boss of Taylors is why is our fall through rate 50% higher?
We didn't do what we said we would do, one way or the other.
I mean, don't get me wrong, 29 against the average of 26 or 27 is good, but this is, look, there's a huge list of one man, like little baby agent, little stuff here. So that's going to drag the average down. The bottom line is this. Is that your biggest competitor has got a much better fall through rate, like a Country Mile. So and again, Williams, Hedge, and Bradley's and Pegs, Peg 34% with Pegs. Again, that screams at me. And again, that you're suffering there with your exchange ratio. So why is
it's got to hurt?
It's going to hurt big time.
I mean, if we say there that they 112, yeah. So I suppose the volumes are a little bit lower there.
Not quite, apart from Taylors that seem to be big, the numbers here are quite tight. Okay, let's go and have a look at price changes. So Taylors price change 52% of their stock, Absolute 47, Williams Hedge 73. Bloody hell, that's a big. I've not seen a number that big for a long time. Average is 55. Those are quite high reduction levels.
They're working it, aren't they?
They are, but remember.
I mean, one thing that we haven't sort of said
is expect that because look, we got some big numbers here.
Yeah, but what we haven't talked about, and what I guess there's no way of evaluating really, is what percentage of that stock is second home, and with second home, what level of motivation sits behind the transaction. I suppose if it's your primary residence and you change job, have another child, someone dies, you've got to do it. Whereas I suppose with the second home, it's a case of, well, is it financially appropriate to do it right now? If I can't get that extra 10 grand, I'm not going to sell it. And I don't know whether that impacts some of these rates.
Do you know what this is screaming at me with these two sets of numbers here, mate? Is this, okay? Because of the high price change, okay, and because of these high numbers here, he's telling me the whole market's overvalued. Yeah, potentially. It's not as if 2 or 3.
It doesn't appear that way if we look at it versus the robotic valuation from the AVM tool. True. But you are correct that the data suggests that there is a pricing issue in the town, and it's being rectified through price changes and withdrawal rates.
And now, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have a quick look now at the different towns. Okay, so that's Torquay. Paignton, okay, and Woods. And Brick.
But you notice the same thing as me. That's
look. This is okay. That's Brixham, but
right.
But we're talking such low numbers there. I don't
get an offer. Wow.
Okay. All right. That TQ5 numbers were a bit over the place, but the numbers are so small that the numbers are going to be a bit skewy. Okay.
Lettings.
Just want to There is no. We'll just do. I want to show you this. Who
Mm.
sells houses the quickest? So in the last year, it's taken 101 days to find a buyer. That's one of the worst.
Yeah.
There's another stat, right? The average in because I did this for every town in the UK. Well, for my clients because I create content, and the average was around 70 or 80. 101 is one of the worst. So therefore, the
Mm.
market is sluggish. Let's just look at what it was last year. 87. So
Wow.
the market is slowing. Ladies and
Big
gentlemen,
jump.
in most of the UK, the numbers going mostly the other way. Okay. So this year, absolute, if I want to sell quickly, it looks like absolutes are the peak kings because they take on average
194.
194 days from sale agreed from new instruction to completion. Okay. I think the second
That's
agent,
still shocking, isn't it? 194 days.
I'm telling you here and now, ladies and gentlemen, get your sale, get the solicitors in on instruction. I was talking to a chap called Ian. I was talking to a chap from Watson's in Norwich, and he gets his Ian, and he gets his valuers to get the solicitors instructed on day one and use it as a USP. Which actually, if you can get your valuers to see it as a USP and not as a barrier to get the listing, his fall through rate's really good, and his average exchange is 12 weeks from sale agreed.
Okay.
Again, I'm a massive fan of outsourced sales progression. Massive fan. Even if you in-house the out-house it, giving it to sales negs to sales chase, that's half the problem. It really is. They're not very good at it. Their mind isn't in the right place. They leave it to the end of the week, and then all they do is chase it after week 15 because they want to chase when they're being paid.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's nice that you just touched on your point a little bit in that doing it well and making sure that the persons whose job it is their job. I think that is so important in terms of keeping customers embracing the deal and getting the ecosystem. I mean, there's so many parties that impact a property transaction. Keeping that moving in the right direction at the right speed is a dark art. And I think it's such an important element of any agency business. Just getting the negs to do it when they're bored doesn't help anyone, I don't think. I think it's actually counterproductive.
Good stuff. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on our last third on last screen, and we're going to be looking at lettings. Just before we go, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone watching this in Torquay is looking, they're finding that they are finding it difficult to break through, they want to grow their market share, then what I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is a service that I can provide for estate agents. I do this for over 100 agents in the UK. If you're suffering from valuers, from landlords not giving you a call to list their property, or swapping agents, or just generally, then give me a call and I can have a chat with you, because what I can do is do an analysis of your Facebook and also your marketing material and have a look at what you do, because I help estate and letting agents around the country produce local property market content that will, because if you think about it, if you look at how most estate agents operate on social media, all it is listing, 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 listing. That's not going to attract vendors and landlords. 36% of homeowners said in a survey of 10,000 homeowners that they chose their estate agent based on their local property market knowledge. And I believe that there's no one in Torquay that's talking about the local property market. So if you talk about the local property market to local people, you will attract people into your sphere of influence. So if anyone is looking for that, give me a call. That's the end of the gotta get a little bit of the pitch in, haven't I, mate? Be rude not to.
There's an element where it was a pitch, but it's pretty good advice too. If there's no one doing it in that space, then it's a great opportunity there.
Let's have a look. So let's kick off with Absolute. And their market share again seems.
Is this 5 years? Is it 19 to 24?
This is 5 years. Rental listings again. It doesn't. We can't see stock levels. We can't see stock levels, but what we can look is new instructions, and new instructions is an indicator of roughly where we are. What I would say.
Open rent. Wow.
What I would say is this, and this is very, very rough, is that the number that you can see here is over 5 years is roughly double what the stock levels I would expect an agent to have. So if you looked at all you normally would expect to recycle most of your stock every 2.5 to 3 years. And some of that will list every year, some of it will be in for 5 years, but roughly. So therefore, I would hazard a guess, and I would hazard a guess that probably the absolute, but I might be totally wrong because it depends on the stock level, that probably absolute might have a stock level of around 1,000. I could be way off the mark, but normally 80–90% of the time, that is absolutely pretty close. So absolute stock levels based on new instructions seem to be pretty static. Let's go and look at open rent. They've grown.
The value proposition is percolating.
There you go. And remembering, ladies and gentlemen, half of the listings that open rent put on last year were previously on the market with another agent, high street agent.
I think it's interesting there, Chris, in that if you look at running a property management business, whether you're doing fully managed or rent collect, they're hard businesses. It's a hard job. And actually operating in a locality with decent quality contractors, keeping that list full of good quality contractors that do a decent job, fair money, don't leave mud everywhere and clean up after themselves, all that sort of stuff is hard work. And yet, when you're seeing businesses like that grow, it just screams to me that the value proposition of the hardworking letting agent is being lost at the landlord level. The landlord is not seeing what they get for their money.
No, and it's interesting. I teach my clients how to engage with their landlords, how to do reports, talk about the property market, create what's called a landlord VIP club in their town.
Right.
Landlords into their sphere of influence from other agents. That works something rotten. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Should be doing buy-to-let deals with competitors, properties that they should be buying. Even though they're not buying, they're still interested. It's all about capturing their email addresses and telephone numbers and then building a relationship with them. WhatsApp is just jaw-breaking. You put them into a broadcast list and send out the stuff. Again, if anyone's interested,
and you can automate all of that.
If you want to give me a shout, then do give me a shout. I'm available on social media. Let's go and look at Connells. They seem to be suffering. Ridgewater, they look quite nice around that 5, 6, 7% mark. Taylors, they're growing. Well done. Fulfords, John Lake, Bradley's.
I haven't seen a real sort of mover shaker yet amongst that number.
No. One would expect Miller. Okay, that might be a buyout. Don't know, but I don't know. You don't normally. I've seen it once in a year and a half.
Well, yes, but open rent
natural growth, organic growth, with a fit where someone's gone from like 10% to around 20% without anything.
And you go back up to open rent. They've managed it.
Yeah, but again, it's not a firm running it. The price is running it. The firm itself.
It's the value proposition.
I'm telling you here and now, the firm that has blown my mind this year, Seymour's in Surrey.
Yeah. Nice business.
Blown my mind.
Yeah, nice business.
Sales,
agree with you on that.
Lettings, just amazing. Okay, we'll just have a quick look at everyone else. The St Mary Church Rental Agency. I'm loving that. We'll just go down to 20, ladies and gentlemen, because you might be, they're small numbers, but we'll just have a look. There we go. Okay, right. I think we're there. Final thoughts, Kristian, before we go.
I don't know what to say, Chris. I my personal view is it looks to me like a year where agents get fed. There's decent amount of stock coming to market. The transaction and sales agreed rates seem high. It looks statistically like you've still got to work your stock. You've still got to be having open conversations around price and marketing strategy. But if you're having those conversations, the market's moving and there's enough transactional volume by the looks of things for everyone to make a bit of money. So for me, I think it looks like a great year.
Thank you for your time today. But more importantly, thank you for watching. This show's just gone on a little bit longer than we thought, an hour and a half as opposed to an hour and 10 minutes. But to be honest with you, we're having such good fun enjoying and chewing the fat. Hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you back next week for week 42, where we'll be looking at a different town and a different set of stats for the UK property market. If you've got any locations that you want me to look at, then please put them on YouTube. The graphs, as I said, are available to download on YouTube and also on SoundCloud as well. If you
Thank
wait,
you, Chris.
if you wait to the end of this video, there's a playlist, and you can save that playlist, and you get the show each week, 24 hours in advance, when it comes up on a Thursday. Thank you, Kristian, again, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Chris.